This is Jack from Buck Talk. What I've got for you today is a question about how much term insurance to buy. But first, I may be a financial advisor, but I'm not your financial advisor. This video is for entertainment, not advice. Be sure to hit subscribe. All right, let's take a look. Term life insurance, how much? I'm very stuck on truly how much to obtain in term life and for how long. Your husband and you're both 43, have a mortgage for debt. That's it. It's 350K. No children, no other debt. You live in a high cost living area. You both work full time and you'll retire hopefully at 65. How much do you get in term life and length? All right. So I'd say it's a matter of taste. It's a matter of taste. I think the way that I would go about thinking this through is whether you want to try to replace the income of the person who died or not, and if not, to what extent, right? You can imagine if you bought so much term insurance that it was more than the money that the one who is dead was going to make for the rest of their career. Now you've overinsured yourself. The other person would get more money if they died than if they lived, right? That'd be a very weird thing to do. So normally you stop with that as sort of high end number. And then you could think about all the way down to zero. If you have nothing, then obviously the person is going to be worse off. Now, if you make about the same amount of money, then you can make this decision in the same way. If one of you makes more money, it might make sense to get more life insurance on that person's life. Okay. Now, I'd say as a starting point, it would probably be really nice to at least be able to pay off the mortgage when the person dies, but there's no rule, there's no reason, there's no good logic why you should just have the amount of life insurance to pay off whatever debt you happen to have. Um, that doesn't really make sense, but I do think it is a nice place to start. And then term life insurance is just really cheap, right? It's just a really cheap thing to get. I think if I were in a situation where I was looking at, roughly a 20-year period and looking at, roughly 350K in debt, mortgage debt, I'd assume you guys are making something like 200,000 between the two of you. Just as a starting point, let's say for the sake of argument that were true, you're each making 100K. Well, maybe what you do is you each get one $500,000 20-year term policy and one $500,000 10-year term policy. So your insurance will go to half in 10 years, but you'll also be 10 years further along. You'll have 10 years less of a mortgage left. You'll also have done 10 years of saving. There's nothing magical about that. I guess in theory, you would like ladder out the insurance so that you had, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, all the way out to whenever you're going to retire and it went down smoothly. But something like what I just described, where you got a little coverage that goes out until close to 65, and then a little more coverage if something were to happen on the shorter end of that. I think that makes sense. But yeah, if you were both making a ton of money and spending a ton of money, and you wanted to be sure that the survivor could keep doing that even without one of the incomes, then yeah, you probably want even more. $1 million is also nice because a lot of times you can get that with relatively little underwriting. The more you want to get, especially as it goes above 1 million, often you'll need more underwriting to do that. You got to prove why you need it. They might have more rigorous background checks, health checks, things like that. And if one of you makes much more money than the other, if one of you is making 300K a year and the other one's making 50, well, maybe it makes sense to have the one making 300K have a lot more coverage because that person's probably doing the brunt of the retirement savings. And if imagine that person were to die in the next 2 or 3 years, is the other person going to be good to go? Do you want them to be? Maybe you don't. Maybe you want them to go find someone else and figure it out on their own, but probably not. Probably not. So good luck.